My name is Jason Haber, and I'm a producer on SimCity, and I work at Access Emeryville, which is the studio creating SimCity. SimCity is it's a reinvention of the franchise that we all love. It's been around for over 20 years, and it's got some great new features. It's got our all-new GlassBox Engine, which brings it's a simulation with integrity, where what you see in the game is actually what we sim. It's got a model-like constructible world, where you can reach in, sort of tinker and toy with everything. And for the first time ever, you can specialize your city. You can become a coal city or an industrial city, or you can specialize in tourism or a number of other things. And finally, of course, we've got the online connected multiplayer. And this allows you to play multi-city games within a region. So you either can play with other people, or you can play all the cities in the region by yourself. And it also allows us to connect you to a bigger world through SimCity World.
How will your city contribute to the bigger picture?
The SimCity World is a new feature we're talking about at Gamescom. It's got leaderboards, it's got challenges, it has a global market that's influenced by everybody, and it's all tied together in city logs, which is sort of like a news feed that's got actionable items.
Cool, brilliant. Okay, that's excellent. Before we move on to some direct community questions, I'm going to just pick. I've just had the great pleasure of playing the demo, which is pretty awesome.
Excellent.
So I know some of the answers, but we need to share them out as well. I think one of the things that's impressed me the most is that granular simulation. As you said, you kind of what you simulate is what you see.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you could just talk briefly about some of the challenges around that, because that seems like a pretty daunting challenge to take on, right? But GlassBox can deliver that.
Yeah, I mean that's GlassBox. That's exactly what GlassBox was built to do. It's really a new simulation engine where every little element it is truly simulated, and there are a lot of challenges around that and around how you build a city using those elements. So, for instance, traffic becomes a very interesting challenge when you're a mayor, because you have to make sure your roads are clear enough for things and for your cars. And it's no longer just like a visual effect of like, oh, there's a traffic jam in the center, but you actually can see the cars building up and see that traffic jam form.
Yeah. So you get that level, and that was the need to create the new engine, because there wasn't really anything out there that was going to do that.
Exactly.
And from what I've seen, it seems that you've taken on board a lot of the things I'm a SimCity fan that you kind of think, oh, you know, I want more creativity in how I can lay my city out. And I enjoyed doing an enormous curved road on the stuff. But has feedback and kind of some of the issues that the community's highlighted in the past, does that really influence design around the game? Or?
I mean, I think we're aware of what our fans want and what they've talked about in the past. We know that curvy roads are a huge feature that everybody wants, and they've been a lot of fun to do. I mean, they're very challenging to implement curvy roads, but they work great. We actually had a designer at the studio who made a city shaped like a guitar. Oh, cool. And it was fully functional and actually profitable. It was really cool. And we actually had challenges within the studio. We have a bunch of people try to make fun things with curvy roads. Ocean Quigley, who's our creative director, he actually made a sketch of himself out of curvy roads.
Awesome.
So you're right, they really have unlocked the creativity. In addition, you can also, and you probably saw this in the demo, you can also go in and edit a building and add additional modules. So we think that will also sort of give some creativity to the players.
Yeah, so your creativity is not restricted to layout. You can now work with individual buildings, which gives you such an amazing sense of control and input and kind of care for the city, which is pretty incredible. On top of being able to customize the buildings, we've also got this concept of city specialization, and that's pretty cool. So I wonder if you could just briefly kind of cover some of that.
Sure. So as you play through the game, you can sort of push your city down a various paths, and you'll be able to focus in on a specialization of one sort. So, for example, you could focus as become an oil city, become an oil baron, where you really sort of build up around getting oil out of the ground and selling that out in the global market and trying to make a lot of money that way. You can also specialize as a casino city, and there you're trying to get tourists in from the region, from the other cities in the region, bring them in and make a lot of money off of that.
So you, again, further ability to really make it your city rather than a city.
Right, and actually the look of the city will evolve with the specialization. So a casino city, not only will the ploppables or the buildings that you plop down look different, because one's going to look like a casino and another's going to look like an oil well, but actually the whole RCI around that will change and sort of react to how you built that city.
Exciting. And you mentioned there you can specialize in certain areas. Is there anything in the new SimCity that could give you maybe a help in deciding what to specialize in based on possible factors of other cities and things?
Well, there are mayor sim interaction. You can sort of see your sims, sort of see what they're thinking, or actually sometimes they'll give you specific requests that you can respond to.
Yeah.
And if your city or where you build your city is sort of set up in a certain way, they'll sort of push you there a little bit.
Okay.
So they might be like, oh, hey, there's a lot of oil here. Maybe we should drill for oil.
Okay, nice.
I mean, you can ignore them if you want. Yeah. Totally different. But they'll tell you what they want.
But you've got that interactivity with the citizens again, kind of personalizing it in a way.
Exactly. And it's really that idea that you can, part of the detail of this simulation is like you can really see what's going on with each of those sims. I mean, you probably saw that in demo as well, is that you can actually like click on a specific sim and see where they're going and what they're doing.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome. And so you've got down to literally each individual's behavior and their needs and desires. You've then got now the global picture as well because of this connectivity.
Right.
And I saw there's some sort of charting of the sort of global economy and global needs and stuff like that. So that's a crazy level to take it to.
Yeah.
It's so exciting to be able to work in that landscape. So can you talk a little bit about this sort of the functionality around the interactivity between cities, both say between me and my friends, but also in the wider landscape that sits in of the sim world?
Certainly. So within a region, so there's multiple cities within a region, and their influence is much more direct.
Okay.
So there's really a couple of big ways that they can influence each other and work together. Mm-hmm. So as a city within a region, I can share my resources with other cities.
Okay.
I can also get resources from other cities or send my sims to go work at other cities. The things that happen in my city will actually ripple out. So I'll have a lot of pollution or crime that'll actually affect other cities within my region. And then as a whole within the region, we can actually work on great works together. And those are big projects that are regional projects. Now keep in mind, just because it's in a region doesn't mean it's multiple people. You could play that alone as well. Or you could play with your friends, or you could even play with strangers. You can just jump in and join a random region, which I think a lot of people will enjoy doing. It's a lot of fun to do that.
I think so. We've kind of covered, I think, a lot of the basics. I'm just going to move into some specific questions we've had directly from the community.
Great.
So let's have a go at these, if you like. So we've seen a lot of depth, and we've talked about a lot of the detailed areas you can really get into, micromanaging and really getting relationships going, etc. How have you guys worked to make that accessible to people that maybe aren't like a sim veteran, SimCity veteran?
Yeah. Well, I think so. What we can do is we are using what we call data layers, and this is where we sort of strip back the graphics of GlassBox, and you can look and see the data visualized in an interesting way. These are inspired by infographics. So for instance, in the hands-on demo you saw, we had one for the water tower. When you're trying to plop it down, it actually sort of shows you exactly what the water map looks like under the layer. Or for seeing what part of your city is powered, you can bring up the power layer and it'll show you, like, in yellow exactly what buildings have power and how far that power is traveling. So we've really tried to take those charts and graphs and push them away, and again, visualize it in a really easy, accessible way, so that newer players will be able to understand what's going on.
So players can come in and see the overall city, but they can then break down kind of the challenges of managing it per layer and address, right, if I get that layer right, I can move on to the next one and kind of balance that out.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Okay, really cool. So that was a question from ShadowWolf2079. We now have a question from the legendary AI. If you want to play with your friends in, say, a region, what happens if they're not online when you're online? Do their city still kind of function in the background, or is it per session?
Yes, so it is asynchronous play. You don't need them to be online to play with them. And when you're offline, what happens with your city, for yourself, nothing will happen in your city. You won't be destroyed if you're not there. It sort of goes into a stasis mode.
Okay.
But still, the resources you're sharing and the sims you're exporting and importing from your city and all the goods, those will still function. So you'll still be able to have sort of those other functioning cities.
So you're still supporting and being available to your friends without needing to actually be there to manage
Exactly.
it. Okay, that's really cool. In terms of interacting, so we've already talked about how you can support people in your region. Can you kind of be a little bit nefarious and maybe make life a bit difficult for people in your region, etc.?
Of course you can. You can do that, but if you do that, you need to do that sort of at the expense of your own city. So if you want to pollute somebody else's city, you're going to have a lot of pollution in your city.
Okay.
And some players will want to be more evil mayors. So they're allowed to do that, but that's the way it'll influence.
And we've seen one of the things in the demo is it finishes with a pretty spectacular natural event. And that's not something you can't sort of send an asteroid strike onto your neighbour or something like that, can you?
Well, no, you can't.
No.
You won't be able to send it to your neighbor. No.
So it's pretty realistic. You can influence their city with pollution and economy and things like that,
Exactly.
transportation, but then you have to deal with the challenges that nature provides on a per city
I mean, once
basis.
again, we're really trying to simulate what it's like to be a mayor and have a neighboring city, right? So the choices you make are going to ripple out and affect those other cities.
Well, thank you very much for your time. We have to let you go. You're a man much in demand.
I am.
Do we have a release date?
Yeah, so SimCity is coming out for Mac and PC. I can say that in February 2013.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.